moment to acknowledge a tragic loss suffered by our community over the weekend when a young man, a son of our city, took his life on Route 93. Please stand and join me in a moment of silence to remember this young man and his family as they deal with the unimaginable loss. Thank you. Tonight, I'll present to you an overview of some of our achievements over the past year and provide an update on many of the exciting things that are happening in the city of Methuen. I am happy to report tonight that on many fronts, the state of our great city is strong, and we expect them to get even stronger. Over the course of the last year or so, Methuen has made great strides in the areas of municipal finance, economic development, housing, public safety, governmental organization and infrastructure, arts and cultural attractions, and improving services to our residents. The biggest story of the year, and the one of which I'm most proud without question, is that of our financial condition. Without a doubt, this is the most important headline of the last few years in Methuen. We have successfully emerged from a long period of financial instability in this city. Earlier this month, I proposed, and our City Council approved, that we use some of our record free cash to pay the remaining $2.5 million to the Commonwealth of a $4 million loan that was taken by the city in 2019 to balance its fiscal year 2020 budget. Let me pause and reflect on that for a minute. In 3 years, we paid off a $4 million loan. This loan was necessary due to overspending in the school budget. In 3 short years, we paid off that entire debt. On top of that, our free cash position has grown from a negative $2 million when I took office to a current historic high of $16.6 million. Just last week in his quarterly report to the Secretary of the Executive Office of Administration and Finance, our Fiscal Stability Officer, Sean Cronin, recently wrote that the decision to pay off the debt was a prudent one, and one that was made possible by the greatly improved financial position of the city. Also, the enhanced approach to financial management, as evidenced by a number of metrics that have been the focus of my administration, a complete and transparent budget document, a multi-year revenue and expenditure financial forecast, and the development of an annual capital improvement plan based on sound financial principles. Another building block of successful financial plan is having predictable financial costs. The cost of labor, as you know, is one of the most significant aspects of any budget. Over the last 2 years, my administration has successfully negotiated with all our collective bargaining units to secure contracts for each. In this last year, the final 2, the police patrolmen and the police superiors, have been completed. Our financial success story has created a collateral benefit of the city having its bond rating increased 4 times since January of 2020. The most recent upgrade occurred in September 2022, when Moody's Investor Service upgraded the city's general obligation bond rating from A1 to A3. I'll pause here and say, but I want that AAA, bypassing an entire level. The additional borrowing power that these improved bond ratings has created has enabled our administration to plan robust capital improvements to our infrastructure over the last 3 years at an affordable cost to our residents. One of the items I hope to include in our next capital improvement plan, with the help of our city council members, is to add $5 billion each over the next 4 years to improve our roads and sidewalks, to supplement the $1.9 million in so-called Chapter 90 monies we receive annually from the state. This will give us a total in excess of $6 million a year to spend on roads, which is necessary to ensure our road system remains in acceptable condition. All the facts and data we analyze tell us that we need to make $3 million worth of improvements every year just to maintain. Doing 1.9 means we're losing ground. I'm also proud that we've become a city that plans for its expenditures in every aspect of budgeting, from the current year's operating expenses to longer-range capital improvements, rather than simply reacting to the need for them as the needs arise. While a strong financial position is the underpinning of a successful community, it's important to remember that success can only be sustained by continued attempts to attract and retain tax-paying businesses. The importance of this aspect of municipal governance cannot be understated. It has always been the goal of my administration to close the gap between the amount of the real estate tax burden borne by the residents and by the businesses by expanding the commercial industrial tax base. But notably, our most recent residential and business tax rates have decreased from the prior year. One means that Methuen has taken full advantage of to attract business has been by using the Commonwealth's Economic Development Incentive Program, which allows the city to offer real estate tax increment financing, or TIFs, to companies that are creating jobs and would otherwise be relocating elsewhere but for the availability of the program. Building on a long and successful history of Methuen's use of TIF agreements to create permanent private sector jobs and spur significant private investment, within the last year, the City of Methuen, led by our Economic Community Development Department, has struck multiple TIF agreements. One example was Pleasant Street Designs, a custom sign manufacturer that was on the verge of leaving Methuen to cross over into New Hampshire. The approved TIF resulted in the company's relocation to an investment of more than $2 million into a long-vacant former private school building, the retention of 45 full-time jobs, and the creation of 89 new jobs in our community. More recently, the Methuen City Council, and thank you to them, approved a TIF agreement with Factorial, Inc., which will bring 166 new full-time jobs to the City of Methuen. The company itself will be investing over $45 million to create a manufacturing facility for the production of batteries for use in electric vehicles, and I'm convinced that they will dominate the market. The opening of a New Balance Factory of the Future last summer brought an investment of some $25 million to the community and the creation of 60 new quality full-time jobs with the promise of further expansion in the very near future. The bottom line is that momentum continues to build for economic growth in Methuen. Whether it is innovative manufacturing or specialty retail goods and services, such as Raising Cane's at the Loop, and yes, I had to have my kids tell me what that was, or the Big Blue Swim School, Methuen is achieving new heights as a welcome place for business to open, grow, and prosper. To accommodate this growth, we recently secured funding to update the city's master plan for the first time since 2007. Entitled Methuen 2035, A Vision for the Future, our consultants will work with residents and businesses in a grassroots effort aimed at economic development. Last week, and I want to give kudos to the Economic and Development Director, Jack Wilson, and his team, the city hosted a successful community forum at which residents and stakeholders had the opportunity to share their hopes, concerns, and visions for the future of Methuen. If you missed that meeting, it's not too late to provide your input by contacting Jack or our Economic and Community Development Department at City Hall. One of the very aspects that makes a community attractive is the availability of quality and affordable housing, which was a major focus of Methuen's prior master plan back in 2007. Great strides were made in many areas, but particularly in the area of housing. One need look no further than the increase of our population between 2010 and the 2020 federal censuses. Bucking a downward trend in the northeast part of the country, Methuen's population increased by close to 6,000 people, showing Methuen as a desirable place to live and work. For the first time since the advent of the Commonwealth's affordable housing law, Methuen has achieved the goal of 10% of its housing stock being classified as affordable. Because we've reached our 10% threshold, Methuen now has much more leverage when it comes to deciding the fate of remaining available land. Additionally, we've increased our stock of assisted living and senior housing. Finally, as various projects have been approved, we have secured more than 145 acres of open space for our city. Our downtown area, long since abandoned, has been the focus of a 40R smart growth plan that has brought with the preservation and repurposing of some of our oldest and most historically significant buildings, while creating to date the promise of approximately 100 housing units with more on the drawing board. For the first time since the 60s, we will have people downtown looking for places to go. All of this said, the progress must continue. With the addition of the downtown housing units, Methuen has a sizable downtown population. With that good news comes the reality that we must now give these residents places to dine, shop, and be entertained within that same area. This has been and will continue to be our focus as we move forward. One ongoing project worthy of mention in the downtown area is the complete reconstruction of the Charles Street retaining wall. Once completed, we will gain 53 additional much-needed parking spaces for downtown. And for the first time since I can remember, the wall, which has been taped off like a crime scene for so long, will be accessible to all of our residents. While we focus on economic development and housing, it goes without saying that no one wants to live anywhere that they don't feel secure and they don't have trust in the agencies that are tasked with ensuring their safety. Our police and fire departments, and let me stand in front of you and tell you, we have the very best. Thank you all for everything you do. I would, of course, be remiss if I did not highlight and applaud the progress our police department has made, having recently earned certification by the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission with the expectation of achieving accreditation by the middle of 2023. I'm not sure that the average citizen can understand how long a journey that has been in such a short time frame. So kudos to all of you who made it happen. Chief, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Additionally, the police department, in conjunction with our information technology department and our outstanding CIO, who's here someplace, has overseen the purchase and installation for the first 50-plus public cameras across the city, and they're already paying dividends. And we also have the intention to purchase and install another 50-plus in 2023. In addition to the cameras, the department has adopted other advanced technological methods using analysis of high crime areas for extra attention or prediction for areas that might become high crime areas. So using facts to deploy our police officers. I spoke earlier about our robust capital improvement plan, or CIP. Through that program, we've been able to purchase 16 brand new police cruisers over the last 2 years. While patrolling the city, our police officers have once again embraced the concept of community policing. They're focusing on building relationships with our citizens, emerging from those new cruisers regularly to interact with residents in non-emergency and non-threatening encounters. Through our CIP, we have also purchased numerous other vehicles and pieces of equipment for our fire department, including 2 ambulances and 2 fire engines, one especially sized truck for our satellite fire station that's too small for a vehicle of traditional length. Our public safety agencies serve and protect our community with pride and dedication. However, these departments cannot succeed without holding the trust of those they serve. Thus, the report issued last week by the Civil Service Commission, after an exhaustive, almost 2-year investigation into the hiring practices of the Methuen Police Department, is a seminal moment in the history of the city of Methuen. The report cites blatant wrongdoing by past police officials and lack of oversight by other city officials from prior administrations regarding the employment of unqualified personnel by the police department in the past. However, as negative as its findings were, I'm so very proud to report that the Commission all noted bright spots that current police officials, in conjunction with my administration and City Council, have taken effective steps to right these wrongs, and that collectively we have shown an ongoing commitment to finding the truth and ensuring the implementation of controls to prevent a recurrence of prior abuses ever in this city. I pledge, go ahead. I'm going to look right at you as I say this. I pledge to you tonight, as your mayor, that no stone will be left unturned in pursuing equitable remedies for the city, as well as any persons harmed by the egregious abuse of law by individuals from past administrations. No one, mayor, police chief, anyone, is above the law. Thank you. One of the many reasons this abuse occurred was the lack of a strong human resource department with policies and procedures in place to prevent it. Since I became mayor, I've made it one of my priorities to put such an agency in place, and I ask for your help tonight. As a municipality with a budget of almost $200 million annually, we must ensure our organizational infrastructure is such that each department operates professionally and efficiently, and that those within the overall organization, as well as those within each department, know what is expected of them, and that they are appropriately trained to do their jobs correctly, safely, and effectively. None of this is possible without a professional, well-staffed human resource department. Over the last year, many programs towards these goals have been implemented. Annual mandatory sexual harassment, unconscious bias, and gender discrimination training has been established. For those positions where it's appropriate, safety training has been scheduled. A system for tracking necessary licensure of employees has been put in place, and we have a ways to go, but we are moving in the right direction. The 2020 federal census results report that Methuen is 39% Hispanic now. It is important that the government serving such a diverse population, our workforce, reflect that diversity. I'm proud to report tonight that since I became mayor 3 years ago, 48% of the hires we have made have been diversity candidates. Because accessibility and sensitivity to diversity are so important, the city hired its first full-time ADA diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator this past year. She has overseen numerous events, such as assisting with the incredibly moving Juneteenth celebration that the city co-sponsored with the First Baptist Church at the Methuen Memorial Music Hall in June, as well as celebrations of Pride Month and the city's first ever Hispanic Heritage Month, holding numerous events during the months of September, October. And I want to pause here and give a shout out to my brother at the First Baptist Church, the Reverend Bonds, who is amazing. And if you missed last year's Juneteenth celebration, you're going to want to mark your calendars this year because it was stunning. However, no organization functions well without strong leadership. As your mayor, I am proud to lead a team of knowledgeable and dedicated department heads, many of them here tonight. But one of the things I found when I arrived here is that the departments tend to operate in parallel universes. To try to create more of a team atmosphere, we held a leadership workshop for our departments heads last fall. A day was set aside for these leaders to meet outside the walls of City Hall and spend some time getting to know each other and talk about the dynamics of overseeing departments with diverse tasks and goals in order to provide better service to our customers, whether internal or external. It was a great team-building exercise that will become a regular occurrence. Our largest department outside of public safety departments is the Department of Public Works. And I know Pat's here tonight. The work done by this department is probably the most public-facing work of any city agency. Not everyone needs the police or fire department, thankfully. Not everyone needs a birth certificate from the clerk's office or does much more with the tax collector's office than pay a bill several times a year. On time, Fran. However, everyone has their roads plowed, their trash picked up, turns on their faucet and gets water, or not. Despite the fact that our population has increased significantly and we have more roads and houses than ever, the DPW has actually lost employees in the last decade or so. In an effort to determine where our staffing levels should be in the DPW and whether our current structure is appropriate, we undertook an audit of that department as well. The results of the audit told us that we have dedicated employees who work hard, and with some tweaks here and there and a couple of additional employees, the department could become that much more efficient and effective. Our first major step towards that goal was to hire a deputy director who is on board for a couple of months and will assist the director with day-to-day oversight of operations. DPW is also the overseer of our city infrastructure, roads, city buildings, our water distribution network, our sewer system, our parks and fields. As such, when the city received $46 million from the American Rescue Plan Act, known as ARPA, through the state and federal governments, we had to decide what our greatest needs were and allocate those funds to those projects. The vast majority of the projects eventually chosen jointly by my administration with the approval of council are infrastructure projects, replacement of 100-year-old water and sewer pipes, drainage projects, replacement of equipment within our water distribution system. In conjunction with the school department, the city also purchased a building on Branch Street to be used by the school administration for its general offices as well as citywide preschool classes to alleviate the severe overcrowding in our K-8 grammar schools. I look forward to the completion of these projects as well as the increased and improved services they will bring to our residents. And again, it would be remiss if I not call out Director Pat Bauer of the DPW for all the job his men and women do every day. Thank you, Pat, from the bottom of my heart. Over the course of the last couple of years, and you may not know this if you haven't been in, we've also renovated much of City Hall, one office at a time. The glorious hardwood floors have been restored, and plumbing and electrical systems have been upgraded. There are a few more offices left to do. But another City Hall improvement I hope to be introducing soon is the window replacement program. We're working to establish the cost of replacing each window, complying with the requirements of the historic nature of the building, and allowing the public the opportunity to purchase a replacement window in memory or honor of a named person. And I pause to interject here, I will purchase the first one, because if you don't know it, my office is my mother's science classroom from Searles High, class of 1952. Skip the page, Tina, you're going to yell. I mentioned earlier the recognition that if you're going to bring new people into your downtown and your community, it is important to give them a place to eat, shop, and be entertained. While private industry will play a big role in providing those services, it's also incumbent upon the government to make Methuen as attractive a place as possible by inviting interesting and innovative opportunities. One example of the small steps the city has taken towards attracting attention to downtown is its partnership with Methuen Arts and the Arts Institute of the Merrimack Valley to present A Light the Falls at the Spigot River Waterfall adjacent to Mill Falls Apartments on Osgood Street. Powerful programmable lights cast a colorful blue hue on the falls, or other colors. The colors and themes change with each season, whenever water is flowing over the falls, and also when they're frozen. This is a great attraction to our downtown that has drawn many observers during its shows. Starting early in February, next week, the three-dimensional sculpture Plethora will be on display through the end of October 2023 across Osgood Street in the Riverwalk Park. The 3D design and construction of this 5-ton statue is the creative work of Lux Maya, a next-generation digital technology company with whom the city has partnered to highlight the capabilities of 3D technology. But attraction should not be the only focus of a city interested in bringing people to its confines. Building a sense of community is perhaps even more important. And Methuen has many traditional community events that are noteworthy, from the annual Easter egg hunt to Restaurant Week. Last year, we dubbed it Savor Methuen, and approximately 18 local restaurants offered special deals during the entire week to encourage our residents to try new places and perhaps find their favorite next restaurant. Another example is our Veterans Office and our Veterans Service Officer. Paul, stand up and take a bow, please, if you would. The VSO holds a series of events throughout the year. A cookout for our veterans and their families at Forest Lake at the beginning of every summer season, a sunset salute in the fall at the Merrimack Valley Golf Course, and a holiday party in December, among many other things. Another example is the fireworks. Now note, I didn't say July 4th fireworks, and that's not a mistake. So last year, we ran into a shortage of fireworks services, coupled with our losing the location we've been using near the loop for quite some time. It resulted in us having to hold them the weekend after the 4th of July. Although there are a few critics on social media, let me just say, what was the end result? The biggest crowd we've ever seen in our history in Methuen, from all over, because everyone else's celebrations had already occurred. This has led us, and I'm telling you tonight, to decide that we're going to hold the fireworks the weekend after the 4th every year, and it might become a Methuen tradition. So mark your calendars for July 8th. Moving on, it'd be remiss, I mentioned the veterans events. Probably the most significant event that happened in the city in the past year was the Wall That Heals. I want to tell you, I was personally and professionally moved by the event. The event was planned and overseen, again, by a Veterans Services Department. It was a mini replica of the Vietnam Memorial Wall, brought here in late September, constructed at Potter Field on Pelham Street with the help of our DPW, our fire department, our police department, and many others, and our union friends. Thank you, my brother. Anytime. It was here for 4 days, staffed 24 hours a day, and it brought people from all over to view. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I'm sorry. You've got to see it. I want to tell you, as hard-hearted as the mayor can be, I was brought to tears by a veteran who walked me to the wall and sobbed when he saw the name of a comrade. It was a moving and incredible event. It's a one-in-a-lifetime experience. And it's not the kind of thing that becomes an annual event, but as someone who worked a couple of shifts at the wall, let me tell you, if you ever have a chance to go see it, either the replica or the actual wall in DC, do it. Do yourself a favor. Another event, Methuen Day. The 2022 version, if you remember, Council, was cold, rainy, but it didn't stop the crowds from coming, the vendors from setting up, and the music from playing. This day of community pride, sponsored primarily by Councilor Ziegler, has grown each of the first 5 years, and there's no reason to think that will change. We want more food trucks. We want bigger and better. Our fall festival held at Great Court Park, where we invite our children to dress in their best Halloween costume and come enjoy the fairs of fall, has become a lasting tradition. Our Santa Parade, the best Santa parade around, is a giant community event that shows the best of Methuen every year. And I want to point out, even our Patrolmen's Union had a float in the parade this year, so kudos, Chief, appreciate that. Our Christmas tree lighting, getting hotter every year, because every year we find, the last 3 years, we found great looking trees. And kudos again to our DPW. Many of you may not know, but the tree fell apart at the base, and they did a great job making sure that it stayed up for the duration. This year we held a contest where the residents picked the trees they wanted the city to be taken down using the loop. This fun contest yielded a lot of contestants and a gorgeous tree for our city. The lighting event, as it has been for years, was full of Christmas and community spirit. But as you know, government is more than just holding feel-good events, even though that's so very important. But we never stop aiming to provide better service to our citizens in every way possible. Over the last year, we have brought in a system called OpenGov, in which our citizens can, or soon will be able to apply for permits from virtually all departments, request birth, death, or marriage certificates, obtain dog licenses, and pay bills online from the comfort of their homes. And there will even shortly be a future that allows people opening businesses to do all of their transactions in one swoop. Last winter, as COVID reemerged and we finally had home test kits available, the city purchased the kits and made them available to our citizens through distribution clinics. We actually still have a great number of test kits left, and anyone who needs them can call Kelly Townsend, who's here tonight. Where are you, Kelly? She's someplace. Don't be shy. And arrange to pick them up. But one important aspect of ARPA funding that's not in an infrastructure project is the fuel assistance program for our senior citizens, which I recommended to City Council after learning that the utility companies have requested and received permission to increase their monthly fees by an unconscionable and exorbitant amount. The Council agreed, and seniors can apply for determination of eligibility and to enroll if they are here at our senior center or through our Health, Human Services, and Inspection Department at City Hall. And I want to give a shout out to Sue Riccio, who helped me talk to Congresswoman Trahan the other day, even dared to call her Miss Laurie on the phone, and Linda Sheehan and the staff here at the Senior Citizen Center. If you're a senior in this community and you see this message, on February 7th from 4 to 7 p.m. here at the Senior Center, we will have National Grid and Eversource for payment plans, but more importantly, we'll have Greater Lawrence Community Action Council with applications for low-income heating assistance, for a RAFT program, for rent and utilities, and we will have city officials on hand for that $400,000. So regardless of your age, if you are a Methuen resident and you are struggling to pay your bills, let me repeat this message often said. There is absolutely no reason in this day and age that any individual who lives in this city should have to pick between a roof over your head, heat in your home, or food to eat. We can help. So come see us February 7th. Last but by no means least, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about a recent change to our trash and recycling program in Methuen, as if you didn't know. For some reasons I can't explain, the city has been at the top of the list for trash tonnage and the bottom of the list for recycling statewide. We did not wear these badges proudly, and they cost all of us money. However, as of July 1st, 2022, we signed a new trash contract and it converted to an automated cart-based collections. The program was initiated on October 1st, 2022, and already since that date, I'm pleased to report, we have seen a 20% reduction in trash and an 18% increase in recycling. We are looking towards adding composting in the spring. These numbers bode well for the city, both environmentally and financially, and are a tribute to the hardworking Department of Public Works employees of our city, as well as the cooperations of our citizens. So thank you all. And finally, hearkening back to the beginning of my remarks this evening, I'll make one final public service announcement. To each of you, From the bottom of my heart, I say that no matter what obstacles might appear before you in life, they will never seem more insurmountable to you than when you try to carry them alone. If you need help and you don't feel comfortable reaching out to those around you, call us, or please call 988. I'd like to thank each one of you for coming out tonight or watching from home. I look with great optimism towards the future, recognizing that while we have made great strides, there is much more hard work to do here. I'm confident that together, as a community, we can put the worst of the past behind us finally, keep the best of what we are, and set future precedents of excellence to guide those who will come after us. I pledge to you that I will continue to put the best interests of you, our citizens and our city, in any decision I'm faced with, as I have done since the day I was elected. You may have heard the saying that if you love your job, you will never work a day in your life. Well, let me tell you, I love my job, I love this city, and I really thank you all for coming out here tonight. Thank you so very much.